The day's light faded into the serene hues of twilight as I lounged comfortably on the deck of my 50-foot yacht, the Solace. The yacht rocked gently in the calm waters of a secluded bay, a spot I'd come to think of as my refuge from the world. Here, surrounded by the rhythmic sounds of the sea, I found a kind of peace that had eluded me for months. I positioned myself perfectly, legs stretched out and slightly elevated, a cold beer in my right hand, its chill a sharp contrast to the warm air. Solitude had become my most faithful companion, and in moments like this, I cherished its presence. The e-reader lay beside me, switched off, unnecessary for the kind of escape I sought. "Yeah, this is it," I murmured to myself, eyes half closed, breathing in the salty breeze. Perfect. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in strokes of orange and purple, I allowed myself a moment to simply be. There was no need for the distractions of technology or conversation. The tranquility of the scene was a stark backdrop to the turmoil that had churned within me since the divorce. The gentle lapping of the waves against the yacht's hull was a hypnotic melody, but as the light faded, my mind, unbidden, replayed the darker times. "You deserved better, buddy. You didn't deserve the lies," I whispered into the silence, the words meant to soothe, yet they reopened wounds I wished were healed. My thoughts were interrupted by the chirp of my phone, a message. I glanced at it, a message from my sister Annette. "Just checking in. Remember, not everyone is like Jessica. Don't let her shadow touch everything." I sighed and typed a quick reply, appreciating her concern but not ready to embrace the sentiment. I set the phone aside, not wanting anything to pierce the solitude that shielded me from the past's shadows. As night fell, the stars began to peek through the darkening sky, a reminder of the world's vastness and my own small place within it. The breeze carried a chill now, and I reached for a blanket, wrapping it around my shoulders. "Solitude is good," I said aloud, as if to convince myself. "It's necessary." I settled deeper into my chair, the fabric of the blanket soft against my skin, the beer beside me forgotten. The sea was a mirror tonight, reflecting the first stars, and in its vastness, I saw the possibility of a peace that might, someday, not be laced with loneliness. A rustle at the edge of the deck startled me, and I turned to see a seagull perching on the railing, eyeing me curiously. "Looking for a snack, huh?" I chuckled, breaking off a piece of the bread I'd brought out earlier and tossing it towards the bird. "Not much of a conversation, are you?" I asked the gull as it pecked at the bread. "But maybe that's best. No lies, no betrayal from a seagull." The gull, uninterested in my musings, took off into the night sky, leaving me alone once again with my thoughts. I leaned back, eyes drifting skyward, not searching for anything in the vast expanse above, but finding a reluctant comfort in the boundless dark. In the quiet bay, with the night deepening around me, I felt the edges of my solitude soften, blurring into the dark waters that cradled my yacht. Here, in this moment, I was just a man and the sea, a silent witness to my recovery. The peace of the evening stretched long and thin, like the last light of the sun clinging to the horizon. I savored each breath of salt-tinged air, each quiet moment as a precious gift, a stark contrast to the cacophony of emotions that often filled my thoughts. The stillness was as deep as the ocean itself, until it was shattered by an intrusion so abrupt it felt like a physical blow. The first indication of trouble was a distant hum, growing steadily into a roar. I sat up, irritation knitting my brows as the source of the noise became apparent. A massive yacht cutting through the water, its sleek white hull gleaming under the moonlight. The sound of party music blasted across the water, disturbing the bay's tranquility. "Of all the bays in all the world," I muttered, watching as the yacht slowed, anchoring far too close for comfort. My solitude was broken, the night's peace replaced with the thumping bass of electronic dance music. I stood, leaning on the railing to get a better look at the intruder. The yacht was ostentatious, with vibrant lights casting colorful reflections on the water. Figures moved on deck, silhouetted against the glare. A voice cut through the din, carried by a loudspeaker. "Hey, down there on the small yacht, move aside, will ya? We need more space." I clenched my jaw, squinting up at the figure who seemed to be commanding not just the yacht, but the surrounding sea as well. "This is a public bay," I shouted back, my voice firm despite the churn of annoyance. "There's plenty of room without crowding me out." "Oh, come on, buddy, don't be difficult," the voice boomed back, condescending. "We'll make it worth your while. How about €1,000 to scoot over?" The audacity of the offer made my blood boil. I wasn't some pushover they could buy off. "Keep your money," I yelled back, my tone icy, "and respect the peace." The music lowered slightly, and a man in an expensive-looking suit appeared at the rail of the large yacht. "Look, we're having a party for Fulvio O'Brien, the fashion king. You really want to stay here and put up with us all night?" "Not interested in your fashion king," I retorted, crossing my arms over my chest. "And I was here first. Find another spot." The man scoffed, shaking his head as he walked away, muttering loud enough for me to hear, "Some people just don't know when they're outclassed." As they prepared to continue their revelry, I turned away, anger simmering within me. The intrusion was more than just a physical disruption. It was a reminder of the world I'd tried to leave behind, one where arrogance and money often overruled decency. The music kicked back up, a pounding beat that echoed off the water and hills, invasive and relentless. I sighed, realizing that any hope of reclaiming the night's peace was futile. I grabbed my beer, now warm from neglect, and considered my options. Leaving would mean giving in, but staying would subject me to hours of unwanted commotion. As I debated, a particularly loud cheer erupted from the yacht, followed by laughter and the clinking of glasses. My decision made itself. I couldn't let them chase me away from my own sanctuary. Sitting back down, I resolved to endure. Pulling out my phone, I texted Annette, "You wouldn't believe the size of the party crashing my quiet night." Her immediate reply, a mix of sympathy and humor, brought a reluctant smile to my face. "Hang in there," she texted. "Maybe the Fashion King will send over a free outfit." "Only if it comes with soundproofing," I typed back, settling in to withstand the night, armed with sarcasm and a stubborn streak wide as the bay. The night wore on, each passing hour marked by the relentless throb of music from the neighboring yacht. As I lay on the deck of the Solace, trying to find solace in the stars above, the glaring lights and raucous laughter from the party boat served as a stark reminder of my unwanted company. The revelry seemed endless, and with each passing moment, my irritation grew. It was during one particularly loud burst of music that I heard a commotion that seemed different from the usual party noise, an urgent shouting that caught my attention. Peering across the water, I saw a group gathered at the stern of the yacht. They were clustered around something, or someone. Curiosity piqued, and hoping for a distraction from my frustration, I grabbed my binoculars for a better look. Through the lenses, the scene came into sharp focus. A woman, clearly distressed, was being forcibly held by two men. Even from a distance, her panic was palpable. "Hey, what's going on over there?" I shouted, knowing full well they couldn't hear me over the din of their own festivities. As if in response to my shout, or perhaps due to her own desperation, the woman suddenly broke free from her captor's grasp. With astonishing agility, she sprinted towards the bow of the yacht. The men followed in hot pursuit, their clumsy movements in stark contrast to her lithe sprinting. For a moment, she paused at the edge, looking out across the water, straight in my direction. Our eyes met across the divide, her fear mirrored in my growing alarm. Then, without a second's hesitation, she jumped. The splash as she hit the water was swallowed up by the night sounds, but I was already on my feet, heart pounding. Without thinking, I started up the Solace engine, steering towards where she had disappeared beneath the waves. "Hold on, I'm coming," I called out into the darkness, unsure if she could hear me but driven by an urgent need to help. Navigating closer, I finally spotted her, a head bobbing in the water, arms flailing weakly. She was struggling to stay afloat, Here, grab the buoy! I tossed a life ring toward her as I pulled up alongside. She reached for it with a gasp, clutching it desperately. Once secured, I helped her aboard, her body shaking either from the cold or shock, or perhaps both. She collapsed onto the deck, coughing and gasping for breath. "Thank you," she managed between breaths, her voice a raspy whisper. "What were they doing to you?" I asked, handing her a towel and a blanket from below deck. She wrapped the blanket tightly around her shoulders, her eyes darting nervously towards the other yacht, now a hostile silhouette against the night sky. I was trying to get away. They wouldn't let me leave the party. It got out of hand." I nodded, understanding all too well the type of people who believed their wealth and power gave them the right to control others. "You're safe here," I reassured her. "They can't get to you now." Her eyes met mine, filled with a mix of relief and residual fear. "I don't even know your name," she said, a faint smile breaking through her anxiety. "Buddy, my name is Buddy," I replied, offering her a tentative smile back. "I'm Liana," she introduced herself, her grip tightening around the blanket as she looked back at the party yacht. "And I think I owe you my life." We sat in silence for a few moments, listening to the muffled sounds of the party continuing unabated as if nothing had happened. Liana shivered, and I moved to fetch another blanket. "You're safe now, Liana. Just try to rest," I said, as I draped the extra blanket over her shoulders. She nodded, her eyes closing briefly in exhaustion. "I just want to forget tonight ever happened." "I'll do what I can to help with that," I promised, a protective feeling washing over me as I sat beside this stranger who had, quite literally, leapt into my life. The night's disruptions had taken on a new, more serious tone, and I knew then that the peaceful solitude I had sought was now irrevocably altered. As the night gradually gave way to the faintest hints of dawn, the Solace bobbed gently on the calm sea, the earlier chaos now just a distant memory muted by the distance. Liana and I sat wrapped in blankets, the soft glow of the deck lights creating a small oasis of warmth in the chilly air. She clutched a steaming mug of tea I had made for both of us, her fingers wrapped around it for warmth. The yacht from which she had escaped was still visible, its lights a mocking beacon in the darkness, but it felt worlds away from the quiet where we now sat. "I can't believe I actually jumped," Liana murmured, staring into her mug. "It was like something else took over me. I just couldn't be there another minute." "What was it like before tonight?" I asked gently, cautious not to pry too hard, but curious about the circumstances that led to her drastic escape. She sighed, a long, weary exhalation that seemed to carry the weight of her ordeal. "It started out fun, you know? Luxurious parties, glamorous people, endless attention. But then, you start seeing the strings attached, the expectations." Her voice trailed off, and she shook her head. "I didn't sign up for that." "None of it should come at the cost of your freedom," I said, my voice low. The ocean hummed softly around us, a soothing backdrop to the heavy conversation. Liana looked up, her eyes meeting mine. "You sound like you understand. Have you ever felt trapped?" "More than you might guess," I admitted, thinking back on my own past, on Jessica and the tangles of our marriage that had left deep scars. Sometimes the traps we fall into aren't made of chains. They're made of expectations, of promises, or of love that turns out to be something else entirely. She nodded slowly, absorbing my words. "Exactly. And when you realize it, it feels like the walls are closing in. Tonight it got too much. I saw your yacht, and I don't know, it just represented hope, I guess." "A hope well placed," I said with a soft smile, glad to have been there, an unwitting beacon for her. "You're safe here, Liana, as long as you need." We fell into a comfortable silence, the kind that can only happen when two souls recognize in each other a similar kind of pain and understanding. After a while, she spoke again, her voice stronger now. "Tell me something good, buddy." Tell me about this place, your yacht, anything. I chuckled softly, welcoming the shift. Well, Solace here is my escape pod, my little piece of freedom. Bought her with a heart full of grief and a need to get away from everything familiar. And does it help? Being out here? She asked, her gaze sweeping the horizon that was slowly lighting up with the first hints of sunrise. It does, I replied. Out here, it's just the sea and me. It reminds me that the world is big, and my problems, while significant to me, are just a small part of what's out there. She smiled, a genuine warm smile that reached her eyes. I think I get that. Last night the ocean seemed terrifying, a vast unknown. But now, with you here, it feels different, like a place of new beginnings. That's a beautiful way to see it, I said, feeling a kinship with this brave soul who had, quite literally, jumped into the unknown to find her freedom. And it's true, the ocean, this yacht, they're full of possibilities. As the sky turned a soft orange, signaling the approach of dawn, we both watched in silence, comforted by the company and the shared moment of peace. The Solace had lived up to her name for me many times over, and now she had done the same for Liana, a refuge, a beginning, a promise. The sunrise splashed gold and pink across the horizon, casting a warm glow that seemed to breathe life back into the world, and perhaps into the two of us. Liana and I sat on the deck of the Solace, watching in silence as the day began. It felt like a cleansing of the night's earlier chaos, a symbolic fresh start for both of us. After the sky brightened into morning, Liana turned to me, a thoughtful expression on her face. Buddy, last night, this morning, you said something about traps not always being made of chains. Would you mind telling me more about that? I hesitated, not accustomed to sharing my deeper wounds, but her sincere curiosity and the shared experience of the night gave me a sense of trust. Sure, I began, my gaze drifting back to the sea. It was my marriage. I thought it was built on love, but it turned out to be more about control, about meeting someone else's relentless expectations. Liana nodded slowly, listening intently. It sounds suffocating. It was, I admitted. When I finally realized the truth, it felt like I'd been holding my breath for years. Escaping that, starting over, it felt a lot like jumping into the unknown, much like your leap into the sea. She smiled wryly at the comparison. I guess we both made our escapes in different ways. It's strange, isn't it? How making that choice to jump can be terrifying and freeing all at once. Exactly, I agreed, feeling a connection that went deeper than just our physical rescue scenario. It's about choosing the unknown over the unbearable. We shared a moment of understanding, a mutual recognition of the pains and the liberations of our choices. Liana sipped her tea, her eyes on the horizon. When I jumped, I didn't know what would happen. I didn't know if I'd be safe or if I'd end up in a worse situation. But I think, deep down, I believed there had to be something better than the misery I was living in. And was there? I asked, genuinely interested in her perspective now that the immediate danger had passed. She glanced at me, a gentle smile playing on her lips. There is now. I'm here, aren't I? On this beautiful yacht with someone who understands the need to escape. It's more than I hoped for when I jumped. Encouraged by her openness, I shared a bit more. Leaving my past behind, buying this yacht, it was my version of jumping. It was about finding a place where I could just be without pretense, without the weight of past failures. Liana's expression softened. It sounds like you're still healing too. I am, I confessed. Some days are better than others. Today feels like one of the good ones, though. As the sun climbed higher, its light seemed to fill the deck, chasing away the last shadows of the night. We talked more about where we had come from, not delving too deeply into the painful details, but enough to understand each other's backgrounds. You know, Liana said thoughtfully. They say shared pain makes for the strongest bonds. Maybe it's true. Maybe it is, I replied, feeling a sense of companionship that was rare for me these days. It's certainly a comfort to know someone else understands. We continued to chat as the morning unfolded, finding humor even in some of our darker moments, and I realized that this unexpected encounter might just be what we both needed, a chance to bond over our brokenness and to start healing through newfound friendship. As the sun rose higher, its rays casting a blanket of warmth over the deck, Liana and I settled into an easy rhythm of conversation, our voices low and punctuated by laughter that felt both surprising and healing. The air between us was filled with a tentative hope, a sense that perhaps the worst was behind us. I used to think mornings were just a reminder of another long day ahead, Liana remarked, her eyes reflecting the bright blue of the sea. But today, it feels different. It feels like a promise of new beginnings. It's amazing what a sunrise can do, isn't it? I responded, watching the light play over her features, softening the edges of her recent ordeal. It's a daily reminder that we can start fresh, no matter what yesterday looked like. Liana nodded, her gaze lingering on the horizon. You know, I haven't felt this peaceful I can't even remember. Last night I was so scared, jumping into the unknown, and now I'm here, talking to you, watching a beautiful sunrise. It's like night and day. It's the magic of the sea, I said, a smile tugging at the corners of my mouth. It has a way of washing away the past, even if just for a moment. She laughed, the sound light and freeing. I suppose it does. Buddy, can I ask you something? Of course, anything, I replied, intrigued by the earnestness in her voice. How did you do it? How did you manage to move on after everything that happened with your marriage? I mean, to make such a drastic change. I sighed, the memories surfacing with a pang of old pain tempered by time. It wasn't easy. For a long time, I felt anchored to my past, to the mistakes and the hurt. But I realized that staying stuck wasn't helping me. I needed to find a space where I could heal, where I could be myself without judgment. That's what the Solace became for me. That makes a lot of sense, Liana mused, her eyes thoughtful. Maybe that's what I need too, a space to heal, to find out who I am on my own terms, not as others see me. Everyone deserves that chance, I affirmed, feeling a protective warmth towards her. You took the first step last night. That jump was more than just physical. It was a leap towards reclaiming your life. Liana smiled, her expression one of gratitude mixed with resolve. I did, didn't I? And I landed here, with you. I think maybe that wasn't just chance. Maybe not, I agreed, the early light casting golden highlights in her hair. Maybe it's the start of something new for both of us. As we sat in companionable silence, the yacht gently rocked by the calm morning waves, it felt as though the universe had paused, giving us a moment to breathe, to recover from the storms of our lives. Finally, Liana turned to me, a decisive look in her eyes. Buddy, when we get back to land, I think I want to start over. Really start over. Find a place like this, where I can just be. Maybe not on a yacht, she chuckled, but somewhere peaceful. Somewhere like this. I think that's a wonderful idea, I said, feeling a surge of admiration for her courage. And you know, if you ever need a place to start, the Solace is always here. Her smile then was like the sunrise itself, bright and hopeful. Thank you, buddy, for everything. You've given me more than just a rescue. You've given me a new outlook on life. And you've given me a reminder of why I chose this life, I replied. It's not just about escaping the past, but about embracing the future. Together, we watched the sun climb higher, its light promising a day of new beginnings, a day of possibilities. And in that moment, it felt like anything was possible. The morning gave way to a breezy afternoon, with Solace, bobbing gently under the clear blue sky, Liana and I had spent the day sharing stories and insights into our lives, each tale spun, bringing us closer. By now, a comfortable familiarity had settled between us, as if the sea had not just washed away our fears, but had also woven a bond of friendship and mutual respect. As we lounged on the deck, Liana looked out across the water with a contemplative gaze. You know, I haven't felt this inspired in a long time. It's as if I'm seeing the world with new eyes. Smiling, I leaned back, feeling the sun's warmth on my face. That's the beauty of new beginnings. They give us a chance to redefine our paths. She nodded, turning to face me with an earnest expression. Buddy, I've been thinking. What if we took this chance to do something meaningful? Something that could reflect our journey from darkness to light? Curious, I sat up straighter. What do you have in mind? I want to start a project, a platform maybe, that helps people who feel trapped, whether in bad relationships, jobs, or situations. I think our stories could inspire others. What do you think? The idea struck a chord in me. After all, Solace had been my sanctuary, and now it had offered refuge to Liana. Why not extend that sense of hope to others? I think that's a fantastic idea. We could use this yacht as a symbol, a floating beacon of hope. Her eyes lit up, mirroring the enthusiasm in her voice. Exactly. And maybe we could share resources, stories, and even host retreats here on Solace, a safe space on the sea. I chuckled, the vision growing clearer in my mind. A floating retreat. I like the sound of that. It's settled then. We'll draft a plan, reach out to experts, and see where this journey takes us. Liana's smile was radiant. Collaborating with you, it feels right. Like it's meant to be. Encouraged by her words, I stood, extending my hand to her. Let's shake on it, partner. She took my hand, her grip firm and confident. Partner, she echoed, standing up to join me at the railing. We spent the next few hours brainstorming ideas, our conversation a lively exchange of hopes and strategies. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the deck, I realized how far I had come from the lonely despair that had once consumed me. Liana, today has been incredible, I said, watching the horizon turn a fiery orange. Thank you for this spark, this partnership. It's a new chapter, isn't it? It is, she agreed, her voice soft but full of determination. And thank you, buddy, for believing in this. In me. As the sky deepened to a dusky purple, I felt a profound sense of contentment. The journey of Solace had brought not just escape, but purpose. And now, with Liana by my side, it promised even more. Here's to new beginnings, I said, lifting an imaginary glass. To new beginnings, she repeated, clinking her own against mine, her laugh mingling with the gentle splash of waves against the hull. The proposal of our joint venture felt like a vow, a commitment not just to our project but to supporting each other and to embracing whatever the future held. As night fell and the first stars appeared, I knew that this was only the beginning. As the stars began to pepper the night sky, the gentle rocking of Solace seemed to echo the calm yet exhilarated rhythm of our hearts. The day had been transformative, and as Liana and I prepared to set sail back to the mainland, there was a palpable sense of anticipation about what lay ahead. I can't believe we're actually doing this, Liana said, her voice brimming with excitement as she coiled a rope on the deck. It feels like we're about to embark on something truly special. I nodded, securing the helm. It does. You know, I never imagined that when I bought this yacht, it would lead to something like this. It's funny how life takes us on these unexpected journeys. Liana laughed softly, the sound blending seamlessly with the sea breeze. I guess it's all about being open to possibilities, isn't it? When I jumped into the water, I was just trying to escape. I never thought it would bring me to a new purpose. Turning towards her, I felt a surge of gratitude. And I'm incredibly glad it did. You've brought a new perspective to my life, Liana. This project, it's going to be something great. I can feel it. As we made final preparations to set sail, Liana paused, her gaze fixed on the horizon. Buddy, do you ever worry about, starting something new, the risks, and what if it doesn't work out? I considered her question for a moment, steering the yacht towards the open sea. All the time, I admitted. But I've learned something important through all the ups and downs. It's that taking the risk is often worth it. The fear of failure can't hold us back from the potential of what we might achieve. That's a good way to look at it, she replied, a determined gleam in her eye. And whatever challenges come, we'll face them together. We're in this as partners, right? Right, I affirmed, feeling the strength of our new bond. Whatever comes, we'll navigate it together, just like we're navigating these waters. As Solace sailed smoothly under the starlit sky, we settled into a comfortable silence, each lost in thoughts of the future. After a while, Liana broke the silence. This sea, it's taught me more than I ever learned on land. About resilience, about peace, and now about taking chances. Smiling, I replied, it has a way of doing that. It teaches us, challenges us, and if we're lucky, it brings us exactly where we need to be. The coastline came into view, the lights on shore twinkling like distant stars. It was a signal that our journey on the sea was coming to an end, but our adventure together was just beginning. Look at that, I pointed towards the shore. Every light out there could be someone who needs the kind of help we're planning to offer. Someone who's looking for a beacon. Liana stood beside me, following my gaze. Let's be that beacon, buddy. Let's light up the dark. Let's light it up, I agreed, feeling a profound sense of purpose. As Solace neared the harbor, the metaphor wasn't lost on us. We were nearing a safe haven, not just for ourselves, but potentially for many others. As we docked, the cool night air felt like a gentle affirmation of our plans. We stepped onto solid ground, but the sea remained in our hearts, a constant reminder of where we started and how far we intended to go. To new beginnings, Liana, I said as we tied up the last rope. To new beginnings and bright futures, she replied, her smile reflecting a deep shared hope. With anchors aweigh, we were ready to navigate the vast and promising waters of our new endeavor. Thank you for joining us on this emotional journey. If today's story resonated with you, or if you've experienced similar challenges in your relationships, remember you're not alone. We hope this video offers some insight or comfort as you navigate your own path forward. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. We value your perspectives and would love to hear your stories too. Join us next time for another profound exploration of the heart's resilience. Until then, take care and keep seeking your truth.